This is the hardest part of Postmates, is just trying to find the apartments. Hi, I've got a Postmates order to pick up.
Absolutely, you'll be right there at the post stand.
Perfect, thank you. I have 228 for Jeff.
228?
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Just itemize it for me?
Oh, yep. Let's see here. I've got 1 Sun Devil roll, 1 ASU roll, and 1 Cheetah roll.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. So this is what life is like doing Postmates on a motorcycle. It's about 100 million degrees outside, so I'm burning hot. I left my cooling vest in the freezer because I figured it wasn't that hot, but it is pretty humid today. And here we go. Go, go, go. So the bike I'm on is a 2015 Honda NC700X. It's kind of like the black sheep of the Honda family. Not too many people know about it. It didn't get many sales. It is offered in manual, which I have, and automatic. And honestly, it's a very boring bike, but it is probably the best commuter bike I have ever owned, and I will tell you why momentarily. Okay, so this gives you an idea of a pretty typical Postmates order. I'm going to Applebee's next. I have a 2 for $20 order, an appetizer with 2 entrees. I have a sampler, choose 2, so 2 appetizer samplers, and I have a fountain drink. And all of that food has to go on this bike. Anyways, back to this bike, Honda NC700X. It's a decent little commuter bike. It's not the most powerful, but it has enough power to keep up with traffic and to cruise on the freeway. Even at 70, 80 miles an hour, you still have some passing power left. So, like on a smaller 250, 300, which are fantastic starter bikes if you're new to riding. But on those bikes, when you're on the freeway and you're trying to keep up with traffic, there's just not much left after that. So, I've got a little bit more power than a little 250. Nothing like that 1000cc up there, but it's got enough passing power to get around traffic, accelerate. So I've never really had a loss of power on this thing. It's kind of heavy, but it carries its weight nice and low, so it's honestly pretty nimble of a bike. And because it's so tall and narrow, it actually makes lane splitting really, really easy. On a smaller sport bike, we've got the clip-on handlebars. It's great for on a track. You're tucked in, you've got less air resistance, less of a frontal area when you're so tucked. But honestly, having these nice wider bars, you just have much more control trying to do some nimble little maneuvers. But fuel economy is pretty great on this. It only carries 3.7 gallons of fuel, but when you're getting 60 miles to the gallon, that's about 210 miles of usable range, which is pretty good for a bike. I've gone on long extended trips on this, and I had a buddy who was on a Yamaha FJR with about twice the fuel capacity of me, and he was getting about half the MPG, so honestly we were running out and filling up at about the same time. So it's a perfectly usable bike, but the big thing on this bike is storage. I've got this big front trunk right here. It's actually big enough to fit an entire full face helmet. Now, just to caveat for that, I do wear a medium helmet, and it's a tight squeeze. There's a little bit of extra room. I could imagine it would fit a large, maybe an extra large, but if you wear like a 2XL or something like that, it might be a little bit of a tighter squeeze. Now, I promise I'm not an asshole. I do actually have handicap plates on my bike. How's it going? I've got a Postmates order.
Are you here for Postmates?
Yes, sir. The 2 for $20 choose 2 sampler and a fountain drink?
Yep.
Perfect. Now, the question on everybody's mind is how all of this food fits in this bike. First, we put the drink in. Sometimes I can squeeze some food into there. Looks like these are just slightly too big, meaning it will go in the cases. just like so. Yeah, maybe you thought you'd get some good side income, maybe use your car for Uber or Lyft. Grubhub's another option, or Uber Eats. But if you just have a motorcycle, Postmates is pretty much the only way to go. They're one of the few services that allows you to do it on 2 wheels. In fact, there's options for walking, depending on your market, bicycling, scooters, motorcycles, so they support all 2 wheels. I'd say the most important thing when trying to do Postmates on a bike is to figure out a good way to secure drinks, because just because you're on a bike does not mean you'll get orders with drinks or without drinks. I've had to carry multiple drinks. I've gotten orders that were nothing but drinks before, so finding a good way to carry multiple drinks on a bike. The other thing is large items, because even though I've got the cases and I've got a front trunk on this bike, as you saw, neither of them are very good at carrying large, bulky items like pizzas. So I do have some bungee straps on the back of the bike. And so for my larger items, I can just throw them on the back there and strap them down securely. But honestly, I think bike's probably the way to go for these kind of apps, because I'm making about the same money that I would be making if I did this in a car or a truck, but my running costs are a lot lower on the bike. And if I just pop over here real quick, you can see I'm averaging about 59 miles to the gallon, which is not bad for 2 wheels. And on this bad boy right here, all 50 horsepower, my insurance premiums are about $12 a month. And that's for me specifically, but most bikes are pretty cheap to run and insure. So basically it brings my running cost to almost nothing. Downside being you don't have air conditioning, but I do have radio. I've got Sena headsets, I've got Bluetooth phone, I've got the directions from the app going into my helmet, so it gives me turn-by-turn direction. So honestly, it's not very bad. The other important thing is just gear. You can see I've got this nice high-visibility jacket that you can see from outer space. Now, it's important to remind yourself that you are carrying food and drinks on your bike. So you want to minimize lean angle, because the last thing you want to do is have food topple over or drink spill out. So if I weren't carrying food, I could take this corner a lot faster, I could lean into it, I could do typical bike things, but because I've got food, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to take it nice and gentle and slow. Pretty much just drive like your grandmother on a Sunday. It's also important to get an idea of addresses in your locale. For example, this place's address is 933 University Drive. What, really, buddy? I called this lane first. And because it's 933, which is an odd number, I know odd numbers are on the south side of the road and even numbers are on the north side of the road. Therefore, I know it's not in that shopping center, but it's going to be in this one where FedEx is. Hi, I've got a Postmates order for Stephanie. Sometimes it gets a little tricky juggling all the different bags of food. I'm not worried about the food going cold because it's Arizona in the summertime. But I am worried about the ice cream going warm, which is why I'll put the ice cream and the Dr. Pepper both in the freezer bag. And that sky is looking dark and foreboding. Luckily I made sure to grab my rain liner this time. In my last video, when I got caught out in that monsoon, I did not have any of my rain gear with me. Oh wow, look at that dust storm coming. Now I want to talk to you about speed limits. I have no idea what they are whatsoever. Generally, I try to keep it under 60 on surface street, on the big surface streets. Neighborhoods, I keep it under 40 or 30, depending on the size of this road. And freeways, I try to keep it under 100. I think those speeds are reasonable for a bike. Bikes, they maneuver differently than cars, so by staying slightly faster than the speed of traffic, statistically it's actually safer. I would much rather have the idiots in my rearview mirror than right beside me or right in front of me. And goddamn, I'm going to drive straight into this dust storm, so that'll be an experience for you guys. I've changed the title of this video from How to Drive for Postmates to How to Drive Through a Dust Storm, because that's pretty nasty right there. Now, I know lane splitting is only technically legal in California. Arizona, the cops really pay you no mind as long as you do it safely, but it is up to the officer's discretion, so any cop can pull you over for it because it is technically illegal here, but for the most part, I have had zero issues with lane splitting, and I do it basically every day. Now, keep in mind, I'm doing this with cases on my bike and while delivering food for customers, so probably not going to take as many risks as I would if I were just riding around on my own, but I'll do my fair share of zipping through traffic. And really, I mean, getting places early is a slight benefit. I mean, you waste some time putting your gear on, so you kind of make up that time by splitting. So it's really just a wash. Now, in like heavy rush hour traffic, if I were trying to get from one end of the valley to the other, sure, I might save like 10 minutes. And in California, I would save a hell of a lot more than that. But the big thing for me is safety. I've been rear-ended pretty badly once before while stopped in traffic. Now, a car rear-ending a motorcycle is one of the most common forms of accidents between a bike and a car. The most common is the dreaded left turn, either somebody turning left in front of you or them pulling out in front of you, making a left from a side street. So that is the stereotypical, sorry mate, I didn't see you kind of maneuver that leads to most accidents. But the second most common is when you're in stop-and-go traffic, the driver of the car behind you is not actually seeing you. They're looking through you and looking at the car in front of you. And so they might be distracted, they may be playing with the radio, they may be texting, hell, they may just be zoned out after a 10-hour shift at work. So a lot of times they're just straight up not paying attention to you. And that's when a lot of rear-end accidents happen, and that's what happened with my accident. I was completely stopped waiting to turn. There was actually no traffic in front of me, and this young girl came up behind me. She was speeding, she was texting on her phone, and she rear-ended me, and my leg got completely crushed between the bike and her car. And that's actually why I have handicap plates. So, really, in my mind, lane splitting is a safety aspect. By getting to the front of row of traffic, I'm putting, wow, this wind is getting strong as fuck. Oh man, that's a big gust of wind. So welcome to downtown Scottsdale on a very lovely day in August in Arizona, our beautiful year-round sunny weather. 365 days and 300 of them are sunny in Phoenix. This just isn't one of them. So that was downtown Scottsdale. As you can see, a beautiful sunny day to enjoy some outdoor activities, whether it's walking the canal paths or visiting the many shops and art galleries. So now we're gonna go try and run from the storm. I do see blue skies in that direction, so that's where I'm headed. And I finally decided where I want to go in my life. It also means driving right into this goddamn storm. And my rain liner is in my trunk right now and not on my body, so I might pull over in the parking lot here and rectify that issue. You know what? I know doctor's orders say to wear the wrist brace, but I am taking it off. This is going to be a bitch and a half to fit the wrist brace. Ugh. And the rain liner, and the glove, all inside the jacket sleeve. That'd be a lot easier to put on. Now, a smart person would go and seek shelter somewhere at the first sign of a storm. I am not a smart person. Okay, now this is just getting ridiculous.